Hey folks, how you doing? We're talking about formulas of the gods. If a person's going to evoke a god intentionally, sometimes this is done accidentally, Most often it is. But when it's to be done consciously and intentionally, you go by a formula. Just like the scientists do, they have a formula. Or it's like a recipe, you know? If you put the right ingredients in, a recipe for a cake, if you put the right ingredients in, you make a good cake. So if you have a formula for the gods, to evoke the god, okay, and you carry that formula out, okay, exactly where it's supposed to be carried out, you'll evoke the god. The god will have no choice but to come forth. What are we talking about when we say God? Well, see what they call them, netter, you know what I mean? But what are we really talking about? Well, we're simply talking about states of energy, okay, that occur in the human body. That's the God you're evoking. So like a person's evoking himself. So we talk, well, these are states of energy within the body. But anyway, we have different types of gods. We have, for example, the universal God, or gods, or goddesses. Okay, this doesn't mean that the gods everywhere over the universe. No, it means that the universal gods can be evoked at any time, day or night. It's universal. And no matter where you go on earth, you can evoke that universal God if you would like to. Okay? That's all it is. It ain't like the God's way up there in the sky somewhere, all over the place. He's here. Okay? Then we have the seasonal gods. We have a god, for example, of summer, god of winter, the seasons. So the god that's evoked in the winter might not come forth if you try to evoke him in the summer, and vice versa. You try the summer god, okay, you evoke him in the summer, okay, fine. But when winter comes around, or spring or fall, you might not be able to evoke him. He's not going to answer. He's not coming forth. Then we have the gods of the hours, of the day and night. Okay? But still they may fall under, let's say, the seasonal god. So if we take a particular season, okay, and during the hours of the day and night, you can evoke that god, but not any hour. The gods have like designated hours of the day and night. Okay? And so we evoke a god. Well, say if it's between 8 and 10 or something like that, we can evoke the god that's designated to come forth in that hour if he's evoked properly, if the correct formula is used and carried out correctly. Okay? And we having that god come forth. So now, if like was said a few seconds ago, if you carry out the formula correctly, the God have no choice but to come forth. He can't say no. He's got to come. Okay? So this tells us that the human has some power over the gods. If he pronounced that formula or carried that formula out correctly, the gods got to come forth. So the human then has power over the god. Okay? All of them, many of them. Now, some folks say, well, there's only one God. Well, okay, fine. Now, that's fine. Another person will say, well, no, there's 6, 7, or there are many gods. Oh, okay, fine. You know, as long as it works for you, if it works for the person who's doing the practicing and the evoking, fine. Whether he's going for the one supreme God or if he goes for the many gods and he called this one, that one, and so forth and so on. As long as it works. Some people get a little upset or something and somebody talk about, well, multiple gods. You know what I mean? What difference does it make? If it works for them, it works for them. Right? So now, we say down that the human can have power over the gods. So, this tells us that the human can exchange one God. He could take one God out and put another God in its place. He could take one God out or put 2 and 3 in its place. As long as you do it in season, and as long as you carry out the formula correctly. Okay? Because with this knowledge of the formula, it gives the person control over the gods. So now we have, we take the gods of the hours, of the night and day, for example. Now, in the mythology, they speak of the underworld. Well, the underworld. It doesn't sound right, really. It don't come. The word underworld don't come off right to people. They say, what do you mean underworld? You know, nobody wants to go there. Well, we are there right now. Well, anyway, we talk about the solar god in the underworld. He's going through the underworld. Okay, now when a solar god comes to in the underworld, he comes to a certain cave. And when he passes by that cave, okay, the netters come forth. It's like they activate it when the solar god comes through. You know, and they may praise, they may greet the solar god, etc. And the solar god moves on, and he comes across another cave. And the netter comes out of that cave. You know, and he wave and praise the solar god and so forth and so on. And the solar god passes on. Well, that netter goes back into the cave. And he goes to the next cave, and, you know, as he's passing through, you know what I mean, the underworld. And so the other netters come out and praise the god and so forth, and the god moves on to the next cave until he moves through them all, you know. But now, what are you talking about, the caves? Well, it so happens that we're talking about, let's say, the organs and glands of the human body, because these have specific hours in which they manifest optimally. Certain hours. For example, there's an hour, maybe hour and a half, for the heart. There's an hour or two for the, let's say, the kidneys, for the intestines, etc. The lungs. So everything has certain hours. So during the hours of the day or night, these organs manifest during their hour. They work best during this hour. I mean, they're working all the time, but they work at their maximum. They work best during these particular hours. And we call the hours of the day and night. You see? And their functioning is, when I say they function best, you know, when let's say the solar god comes by and so forth and so on, and they come out their cave. Coming out the cave means they're functioning, let's say, at their maximum. This is their hour, you see. But this solar god coming through the underworld is the sun, you see. And so The sun then what activates these glands and organs of the body. You see. So we got that right. But so now, these deal with the hours of the day and night. We're talking about the organs of the body, the glands and so forth. There's areas of the body that work best during certain hours of the day, usually about 2 hours, something like that, you know. And this has to do with the sun god as he passes over, actually, as he passes over the sky. But the whole thing is the underworld. All the gods function in the underworld, you see. So when the human gains, let's say, knowledge of these formulas and what's really going on here with the human body, he has control over the God and even the organs of his body, you see. He becomes the maker true. He can make things happen. He becomes causal. He can make things happen within him. He can call out a certain netter, as long as it's according to the formula, as long as it has to do with the season in which that netter operates, including the hours of the day. If these things are done properly, if they're done correctly, and this gives the human control over his body, and therefore the human has control over the gods. You see. He has control over the God. He has the control to command the gods to work for him. You see. He becomes the captain of his ship and the master of his soul. Okay, folks. I'll talk to you later. And subscribe. And I'll be with you. And have a good one. Okay. Bye-bye.